The chamber of the Galactic Council was huge and silent. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in tall crystal seats that floated above the floor. Blue lights moved slowly across the walls. In the center of the room stood a single human, Admiral Elias Carter. His uniform was dark and simple. A few burn marks showed on the sleeves. His face looked calm, but his eyes were tired. He had traveled a very long distance to be here, and he had only one message. "The fire is coming," he said. His voice was steady, but it echoed through the massive hall. For a moment, no one spoke. Then quiet whispers began. Many species did not understand the warning. Some looked confused. Others looked annoyed. One tall alien with silver skin leaned forward. "Human," the alien said slowly. "Your people have already asked for this meeting 3 times. Each time you bring the same strange story." Another alien laughed softly. "Yes," it said, "a ghost enemy, a monster in deep space." More quiet laughter spread through the chamber. Admiral Carter did not react. He simply stood there, because he had expected this. The human ambassador looked toward the highest seats of the chamber. Those seats belonged to the oldest species in the galaxy, the founders of the council. They were silent, watching. One of them finally spoke. The voice was deep and calm. "We have read your reports, human," the elder said. "Your people claim that an unknown force is moving toward this galaxy." Carter nodded. "Yes," the elder continued. "And you say this force has already destroyed several civilizations outside our borders." "Yes." "And you believe it will reach this galaxy soon." "Yes." The chamber became quiet again. Then another council member spoke. A thin insect-like species with glowing red eyes. "Human fleets explore many dangerous places," the alien said. "Maybe your ship simply met an enemy stronger than you." Some leaders nodded in agreement. The alien continued. "And now you ask the entire galaxy to prepare for war." Carter took a slow breath. "This is not a normal enemy," he said. He touched a small device on his arm. A large hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. Stars filled the air, bright points of light. Then several stars suddenly went dark, vanished. The room became quiet again. "These systems existed only 20 years ago," Carter explained. "Another star disappeared, and these vanished 12 years ago." More stars faded from the map. "Entire civilizations are gone," Carter said. The insect alien tilted its head. "Destroyed by whom?" Carter answered with 2 words. "The Oblivion Swarm." Many council members frowned. Some had heard this name before. Most had not. The hologram changed again. Strange dark shapes appeared moving through space. Millions of them. Ships, but not normal ships. They looked like moving metal storms. A whisper moved through the chamber. "What are those?" someone asked. "Machines," Carter said. "Self-growing war machines. They consume planets, moons, and stars. They turn matter into more ships." The chamber became restless. "But they do not talk," Carter continued. "They do not trade. They do not stop. They only expand." Another council leader raised a hand. "And you expect us to believe this?" the alien asked. Carter looked directly at him. "You don't need to believe me," he said quietly. "Just look at the empty stars." The hologram zoomed out. A massive black area appeared beyond the galaxy. A region with no stars at all. Just darkness. "That used to be another civilization," Carter said. "Older than humanity. More advanced. And they are gone." Silence filled the chamber again. Some leaders were beginning to feel uneasy, but others were still not convinced. One large reptilian species slammed its tail against the floor. "This is not our problem," it said. "You humans explored too far. You woke something dangerous. That is your mistake." Many species nodded. Carter had expected that too. He spoke again. "The swarm will not stop a human space. They will come here. They always expand." The reptilian leader laughed. "Our fleets are stronger than yours. If this enemy comes, we will deal with it." Another leader spoke. "And until it arrives, we see no reason to panic." A soft sound moved through the chamber. Agreement. The council was losing interest. Then Admiral Carter said something strange. We are not asking you to fight for us. That made several aliens pause. Carter continued, we are asking you to fight for yourselves. The elder leader leaned forward again. And if we refuse? Carter looked around the chamber. His voice stayed calm. Then humanity will fight alone. More laughter appeared. One alien spoke loudly. A young species with short history wants to fight a galaxy killer alone. Another added, humans are brave, but not that powerful. Carter gave a small smile. Yes, he said, we know. Then the elder finally made the decision. The council will not act on your requests, the ancient leader announced. The galaxy cannot prepare for every unknown fear. If this enemy reaches our borders, we will respond then. The decision was final. One by one, the council leaders stood up. Their floating seats moved backward. The meeting was ending. Without help, without an alliance, without support, the council was walking away. Admiral Carter watched them leave. But something strange happened. He did not look angry. He did not look afraid. He looked calm, almost relieved. One young alien observer noticed it. The creature hesitated before speaking. Human, it asked quietly, why are you not upset? Carter looked at the alien. Because this meeting was never meant to save humanity. The alien blinked in confusion. Then why come here? Carter turned off the hologram. The empty stars disappeared. He answered with simple words. To give the galaxy a warning. The alien's eyes widened. What warning? Carter looked back at the giant doors of the chamber. They will understand soon. Then he began walking away. Far from the council chamber, a massive human fleet waited in deep space. Thousands of ships, battleships, carriers, strange engineering vessels. But they were not moving away from the danger. They were moving toward it. Deep inside the command ship, human officers watched the stars quietly. A young officer spoke to the fleet commander. Sir, the council refused again. The commander nodded slowly. We expected that. The officer hesitated. Does that change the plan? The commander looked out at the dark space beyond the stars. No, he said. The plan continues. The officer looked nervous. Even without the galaxy? The commander gave a small smile. This plan was never for the galaxy. It's for humanity. Across human space, strange things began happening. Mining stations started shutting down. Colonies were being evacuated. Huge machines appeared near several stars. Even human civilians were confused. News networks asked the same question. Why were humans moving toward the danger instead of away from it? But the government did not explain. Not yet, because the truth was far more terrifying and far more dangerous. Beyond the edge of the galaxy, something enormous was moving. Millions of dark shapes drifted between dead stars. A sea of metal ships. Silent, cold, hungry. The Oblivion Swarm had already noticed the new galaxy ahead, and they were coming. But what the swarm did not know was that humanity had already made a decision. If the fire was coming to the galaxy, humans would not run from it. Humans would walk straight into it. And the first step of that plan had already begun. The council meeting ended, but the galaxy did not forget the strange warning from the human ambassador. For a few weeks, many alien news networks talked about it. Some called it a human mistake. Some called it human fear. Others simply laughed. Most civilizations believed the same thing. If a dangerous enemy truly existed, the powerful Galactic Council fleets would stop it easily. Humanity was a young species. Brave, yes, but still young. What could humans possibly know that the ancient civilizations did not? Because of this belief, the galaxy returned to normal life. Trade ships traveled between stars. Colonies expanded. Science stations studied distant systems. The council leaders believed the problem was finished. But inside human space, everything was changing. Quietly, quickly, and very carefully. The first strange movements. 6 weeks after the council meeting, alien observation stations noticed something unusual. Human fleets were moving. A lot of them. Thousands of ships were leaving their normal patrol routes. At first, this was not strange. Fleets moved all the time. But the direction was strange. They were not moving away from the outer border of human space. They were moving toward it. toward the dark region where the empty stars had appeared, toward the place where the Oblivion Swarm had been seen. Alien analysts watched the reports carefully. Why would they move closer to the threat? One scientist asked. Another analyst shook his head. Maybe they want to defend the border. That sounded reasonable. But then something even stranger happened. Human mining stations near the border began shutting down. Massive industrial facilities stopped working. Cargo ships arrived and started removing equipment. Entire asteroid fields were suddenly empty. A reptilian trader, watching the news, frowned. That is strange, he said to his crew. Why remove resources from the border? But that question was only the beginning. The destruction of their own systems. 2 months later, the galaxy saw something shocking. A human fleet destroyed one of their own stations. It happened near a red dwarf star. The station was huge. It had taken 30 years to build. But the human navy did not defend it. Instead, they fired on it. The station exploded in a bright flash. Alien observers were confused. Why destroy such an expensive structure? Soon the same thing happened again. And again, more human facilities disappeared. Shipyards, mining hubs, fuel depots. Even a small colony world was evacuated and abandoned. News channels across the galaxy began asking questions. What are humans doing? Are they losing their minds? Some alien leaders believed humanity was preparing to retreat deeper into their territory. But the evidence did not match that idea, because the fleets were still moving forward, toward the darkness. The secret constructions, far from normal trade routes, strange human ships appeared. These ships were not warships. They were engineering vessels. Gigantic machines carrying massive structures. They worked silently around several stars near the human border. Alien probes watched from a distance. What they saw made no sense. Humans were building enormous devices near the stars. Ring-shaped machines, energy collectors, gravity anchors, thousands of kilometers wide. One alien scientist studying the images whispered, "That is not a defense system." His assistant looked confused. "Then what is it?" The scientist did not answer immediately. He simply stared at the glowing star surrounded by human machines. Finally, he spoke again. "It looks like a trigger." The assistant felt a cold feeling in his chest. A trigger for what? The scientist slowly shook his head. "I don't know." Panic begins to grow. 3 months after the council meeting, rumors began spreading across the galaxy. More empty star systems had been discovered beyond human space. The dark region on the star maps was growing. Even the Galactic Council began watching more carefully. At a private meeting, several elder leaders studied new data. The human reports may have been correct, one admitted. Another leader spoke slowly. "If the enemy exists, we should see evidence soon." But the most surprising news came from the border. The first alien observation fleets had detected movement. Millions of objects, ships, far away, but coming closer. The same dark shapes shown in the human hologram. The Oblivion Swarm was real, and it was coming. For the first time, the council leaders felt something they had not felt in centuries. Uncertainty. The first battle. The first battle happened sooner than expected. An alien scout fleet was watching a distant human system. The system had already been evacuated. No civilians remained. Only a small human fleet waited there. About 80 ships. Then the sensors detected something terrifying. Thousands of dark objects appeared at the edge of the system. The swarm had arrived. Alien observers watched the battle through long-range sensors. The human fleet was outnumbered more than 50 to 1. The outcome seemed obvious. The swarm ships moved forward like a black wave. Human ships opened fire. Bright beams cut through space. Explosions filled the darkness. But it quickly became clear that the human fleet could not win. One by one, human ships were destroyed. Alien observers expected the remaining ships to retreat, but they did not. Instead, the human fleet commander gave a strange order. All ships changed position. They formed a tight circle around the system star. Then something unexpected happened. The star suddenly flared. A massive burst of energy exploded outward. Every human ship detonated at the same moment. The combined explosions created a violent chain reaction. The nearby human machines around the star activated. Energy flooded into the star's surface. The star erupted like a burning storm. The shock wave expanded across the entire system. Thousands of swarm ships were instantly destroyed. Alien observers watched in shock. The humans had not tried to survive. They had turned the entire star system into a weapon. The galaxy watches in silence. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in hours. Billions of citizens watched the recordings. The image of the exploding star became famous everywhere. But one question remained. Why? Why would humans destroy their own fleet and their own system? Why sacrifice everything? Several council scientists studied the data carefully. They noticed something important. The human star machines had been built weeks earlier. The explosion had been planned very carefully. One scientist spoke quietly during the analysis meeting. This was not a desperate act. Another asked, "Then what was it?" The scientist pointed to the star map. "Look at the direction the swarm came from." Everyone looked. Then he pointed to the direction the swarm was now moving. The machines had changed the path slightly. Just a small change. But it was noticeable. "They are guiding it," the scientist said. The room became silent. "What do you mean?" a council elder asked. The scientist answered slowly. "Humans are not just fighting the swarm. They are controlling where it goes." Another elder leaned forward. "But why?" The scientist took a deep breath. "I believe humanity is building something. Something very big." The elders looked worried. What kind of weapon requires destroying entire star systems? The scientist answered with honest fear. "I don't know. But whatever it is, humans are shaping the battlefield of the entire galaxy." Humanity's strange calm. While the galaxy panicked, human space was strangely calm. Evacuation fleets moved civilians safely to inner colonies. Military ships continued building strange star machines. Factories produced enormous quantities of energy cores. Human commanders spoke quietly with each other through encrypted networks. Everyone understood the situation. Everyone understood the plan. But almost no one outside humanity knew the truth. Not yet, because the real plan, the final plan, was still hidden. And even many humans did not know its final stage. Far beyond the border, the Oblivion Swarm continued its slow advance. The machines did not feel fear. They did not feel anger. They only followed energy, stars, and the strange trail of burning systems that humans were leaving behind. A path through space. A path made of destruction. A path leading somewhere. But where that path ended, only humanity knew. And soon, the entire galaxy would learn the terrifying truth. Because the war had only just begun. And the unexpected turning point of the galaxy was still coming. For many months, the war between humanity and the Oblivion Swarm continued. But it was not a normal war. Most wars were simple. Two sides fought. One side pushed forward. The other side defended. This war was different. Human fleets did not defend their territory. They moved and then disappeared. Entire star systems exploded. Planets were abandoned. Human ships fought hard battles and then destroyed themselves along with the enemy. To many alien civilizations watching the war, it looked like humanity was slowly losing everything. And yet, the humans never looked desperate. That was the strange part. Their movements were calm, planned, almost patient. This confused the Galactic Council more than anything else. Inside the Great Council chamber, many leaders had gathered again. The room felt very different from the last meeting. This time, no one laughed. Large holographic maps filled the center of the room. The dark region created by the Oblivion Swarm had grown larger. Many star systems were already gone, but the strangest pattern was clear now. The destroyed systems created a long path across space, a corridor, thousands of light years long. One of the council scientists pointed at the map. "These destroyed systems are not random," she said. "They form a straight line." Another leader looked closer. "And the swarm is following that line." "Yes." The scientist zoomed out. The line continued deeper into the galaxy, toward a distant region of stars. The room became quiet. Finally, an elder leader spoke. Where does the path end? The scientist hesitated. Then she pointed at a bright yellow star on the map. Here. Several leaders looked confused. That is only a dying star system, one said. Nothing important exists there. The scientist nodded slowly. That is correct. Then she said something that made the room silent. But humans have moved thousands of ships there. The hidden system. The system was called Helios Gate by human star charts. Long ago it had been an unimportant place. A small yellow star, 3 empty planets, and nothing valuable. But that had changed. For the last 2 years, human engineering fleets had been secretly building something there. Something enormous. Thousands of construction ships worked around the star. Massive metal structures surrounded it. Huge energy collectors floated in orbit. Gravity stabilizers were anchored near the star's core. If someone looked at the system from far away, it would appear like the star was trapped inside a giant metal cage. Only a few humans knew the true purpose of this place. And the man who knew the most was Admiral Elias Carter. He stood on the bridge of the command ship Resolute, watching the star through a large observation window. It glowed bright yellow, but sometimes small energy waves moved across its surface. A young officer walked toward him. Admiral, she said quietly, the council has requested communication again. Carter nodded slowly. They finally understand. The officer looked unsure. Should we tell them everything? Carter thought for a moment. Then he shook his head. Not yet. The human secret. The truth was something humanity had discovered many years earlier. Long before the council meeting, human explorers had been studying strange signals in deep space. Those signals came from ancient ruins, remains of civilizations that had been destroyed long ago. The ruins told a story, a terrible story. Many powerful species had existed before the current galaxy civilizations. Some were far more advanced than humanity, yet all of them had disappeared. The ruins explained why. The Oblivion Swarm. The machines had existed for millions of years. They did not have a home world. They did not have a leader. They were simply a self-growing force. A swarm that expanded from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything. And every civilization that tried to stop them had failed. But the ruins also revealed something important. One weakness. The swarm followed energy. Large sources of energy. Stars were the biggest sources. If a star system suddenly produced more energy than normal, the swarm would change direction toward it. Human scientists studied this behavior for decades. Finally, they realized something shocking. The swarm could be guided, like a giant predator following food. If humans control the energy sources, they could control the path of the swarm. That discovery created the most dangerous plan in human history. A trap made of stars. Human leaders knew the swarm could not be defeated by normal fleets. The machines were too many, too strong, too endless. But a star could produce more energy than any fleet. And if that star exploded, the energy would be unimaginable, enough to destroy millions of ships. But a single exploding star was not enough. The swarm was too large. So humanity decided to build something impossible. A trap. A corridor of stars. Each system would guide the swarm closer to the final location. And at the end of that path, a weapon would wait. A weapon so powerful that even humans feared it. That weapon was being built at Helios Gate. The Council finally learns. After the 3rd year of the war, the Galactic Council could no longer ignore the situation. The swarm was now inside the galaxy. Several alien border systems had already been destroyed. Panic was spreading. Trade routes were closing. Many species demanded answers. Finally, the Council sent an emergency request to humanity. Admiral Carter accepted the call. The giant council chamber appeared on the screen. Dozens of alien leaders stared at him. This time, there was no pride in their voices, only worry. One elder spoke first. Human Admiral, we demand to know your strategy. Carter answered calmly. You already know most of it. Another leader interrupted. You are destroying star systems and guiding the swarm deeper into the galaxy. Yes. The chamber became loud with angry voices. Are you insane? You are bringing the enemy closer to us. Carter raised a hand. The room slowly became quiet again. Then he spoke. If we fight the swarm everywhere, we lose everywhere. Silence returned. So we choose the battlefield, Carter continued. We choose the place where the war ends. The elders looked at each other. One asked slowly, "And where's that place?" Carter turned slightly. A new star map appeared on the screen. The long corridor of destroyed systems was visible. At the end of it was one bright star. Helios Gate. That is where the final battle will happen, Carter said. A reptilian leader looked. Shocked. You're guiding the swarm there? Yes. And what is waiting for them? Carter did not answer immediately. For a moment, he simply looked at the star. Then he spoke quietly. A fire big enough to burn the swarm. The chamber became silent. Even the oldest council leaders did not speak, because they understood the meaning behind his words. Stars were the largest power sources in the galaxy. If humans planned to use a star as a weapon, the explosion would be unimaginable. Finally, one leader asked a question everyone feared. And the human fleets at Helios Gate? Carter looked back at them. They will be there. The alien hesitated. You mean they will escape before the explosion? Carter's expression did not change. No. The council chamber became completely silent, because at that moment they finally understood the full truth. Humanity was not just planning to destroy the swarm. They were ready to sacrifice everything to do it. The trap was nearly complete. The corridor of stars was guiding the enemy closer every day. Soon the swarm would reach the final system. Soon the greatest explosion in galactic history would begin. And when that moment came, humans would not run from the fire. They would stand inside it. Rocket the final days of the war arrived quietly. Across the galaxy, billions of eyes watched the same star system. Helios Gate. Once it had been an empty place. Just a lonely yellow star with a few dead planets. Now it had become the most important location in the galaxy. Thousands of human ships surrounded the system. Massive engineering structures still floated around the star. Gigantic rings of metal and energy collectors formed a glowing cage around it. From far away, the star looked like it was trapped inside a machine. Alien observers from many civilizations watched from a safe distance. Even the Galactic Council had sent several fleets to observe, but none of them moved closer. They were afraid, because everyone now understood what the humans were about to do. The corridor of destroyed systems had worked. The Oblivion Swarm was coming, and soon it would arrive at Helios Gate. The waiting. Inside the human command ship, Resolute, Admiral Elias Carter stood on the bridge again. The star burned brightly outside the observation window, but something about it felt different now. It was unstable. The machines around it had been feeding energy into the star for weeks, slowly pushing it toward collapse. A young communications officer spoke from her station. Admiral, long-range sensors confirmed swarm movement. The room became quiet. How far? Carter asked. 3 hours from system edge. The bridge crew exchanged nervous looks. 3 hours. After 3 years of planning, the final moment was finally here. Another officer spoke carefully. All evacuation ships have left the system. Admiral. Carter nodded. Civilian workers had been removed days earlier. Only military ships remain now. Thousands of them. Every captain in the fleet had received the same message earlier. No retreat orders would be given. The human fleet was not here to escape. They were here to finish the war. The swarm arrives. Exactly 3 hours later, the sensors screamed with warnings. The first dark shapes appear at the edge of the system. Alien observers watched with fear. The numbers were impossible to count. Millions of swarm ships. They moved like a black ocean. Slow, endless, cold. They spread across the stars, blocking the light. For a moment, the entire system looked darker. The swarm had arrived. Inside the Council observation fleet, several alien commanders stared at their screens in horror. One whispered quietly, "How can anyone fight that?" Another answered, "They cannot." But the human fleet did not run. Thousands of ships slowly moved forward, forming a massive defensive wall between the swarm and the star. Human battleships activated their weapons. Bright energy cannons glowed along their hulls. Carrier ships released hundreds of fighter craft. The last battle of the war had begun. The first clash. The swarm attacked without hesitation. Dark machines rushed forward like a storm. Human weapons fired immediately. Brilliant beams cut through space. Explosions flashed everywhere. Thousands of enemy ships were destroyed in the first minutes. But the swarm did not stop. For every machine destroyed, 10 more appear behind it. Human fighters darted between the enemy ships, firing missiles and plasma bursts. Large battleships launched powerful railgun shots that tore through entire lines of machines. But the numbers were overwhelming. One by one, human ships began to fall. Explosions filled the battlefield. Alien observers watched in silence. Even the strongest human fleets could not hold forever. But something strange happened again. Just like the earlier battles, the humans were not trying to survive. They were buying time. Every minute mattered, because behind the battle line, the final weapon was preparing to activate. The star begins to change. Around the star, the massive machines began glowing brighter. Energy collectors opened like giant metal flowers. Gravity stabilizers pulsed with power. Inside the control stations, human engineers watched their screens carefully. The star's temperature was rising. Pressure in the core was increasing rapidly. The plan was simple and terrifying. If they pushed the star far enough, it would collapse, then explode. A supernova, the most powerful natural explosion in the universe. But the machines were not designed to survive that event. Neither were the ships nearby. Every human pilot in the system knew the truth. When the star exploded, no one close to it would survive. The final message. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Carter received one final communication request. It came from the Galactic Council. The main screen lit up. Several alien leaders appeared. Their expressions were serious. One elder spoke slowly. "Human Admiral, we now understand your plan." Carter nodded. "Yes." The elder continued. "There is still time for your fleet to escape." Carter looked toward the burning star, then back at the screen. "If we leave," he said calmly, "the swarm will survive." The elder did not argue. Instead, he said something unexpected. "The galaxy will remember what your species is doing today." Carter gave a small smile. That was never the goal. The connection ended. There was nothing more to say. The final order. The battle outside had become chaotic. Human ships were falling faster now. The swarm had pushed closer to the star. But that was exactly where the humans wanted them. Inside the engineering control center, alarms suddenly changed tone. A technician looked up. "Admiral, the star core has reached critical level." Carter stepped closer to the command console. "How long?" 3 minutes. The bridge crew became silent. 3 minutes. Outside the window, the star had begun glowing brighter than ever. Its surface twisted with violent energy storms. Carter opened a fleet-wide channel. Every surviving human ship received a message. "Attention, all vessels." His voice remained calm. "You know the mission. You know the cost. But today the swarm ends." He paused for a moment. Then he gave the final order. "Light the fire." The fire of a star. The giant machines around the star activated at the same time. Energy collectors released everything they had stored. Gravity anchors pushed against the star's core. For one silent moment, nothing happened. Then the star collapsed inward. Alien observers watched in shock. The bright yellow star suddenly shrank. Then it exploded. A wall of pure white light burst outward. The explosion was bigger than anything most civilizations had ever seen. The shock wave moved across the system like a cosmic storm. Millions of swarm ships were instantly vaporized. Human ships disappeared in the fire as well. The light was so bright that distant observation fleets had to shut down their sensors. For several long minutes, the system was nothing but blinding energy. A supernova had been born. After the silence, days later, when the explosion finally faded, the galaxy sent probes to the system. There was almost nothing left. The star had become a massive cloud of glowing gas. The swarm fleet was gone, completely destroyed. No machine survived. The corridor of war had ended. The galaxy was safe. But The human fleet was gone too. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, all lost in the fire. For a long time, the Galactic Council said nothing. Then a single weak signal appeared on long-range sensors. One human ship had survived, a small scout vessel far from the center of the explosion. Its message was simple. Just one short transmission. We warned you. Years later, the Galactic Council built a monument near the edge of human space. It was not made for victory. It was made for sacrifice. On the monument were simple words. When the galaxy stepped away from the fire, humanity walked into it. Rocket,